Hello everyone, welcome into Deacon's NFL Talk. I'm your host Deacon. Welcome back to another episode on the channel, episode 49, I believe. And this week, I'll tell you what, this week is going to be a packed full episode. We have 11 topics of NFL news, and all of them are must talk about topics. I feel like I said the exact same thing last week, but it's true. This week we also have 15 topics of quick hits, which is more than what we had last week, so I don't know if I'll be able to beat out the timer on that one. After that, we have the main signings and cuts. We're not doing all of the signings and cuts because obviously, if you guys didn't know, free agency started on Monday, so there's going to be a lot of signings and cuts. So I did the biggest and the main signings and cuts. We only have 2 cuts this week. There really wasn't a lot of huge cuts, so we only have 2 cuts this week. After that, we are starting a new segment called Retirement Reaction. I'll get to that in a bit. We also have the quiz and a one question of the week. It's going to be a packed full episode, so sit back and relax and enjoy episode 49 of Deacon's NFL Talk. All right, everyone, we're going to jump right into this one. So, like I said last week, we are going to start off with the main topic, and without a doubt, it is about the Buffalo Bills signing Josh Allen to a 6-year, $330 million extension to become the NFL's highest paid player. And really, this is something that he had, I believe he had $140 million left on his previous contract, so he really didn't have to get an extension. But honestly, this is a very smart move by the Bills. Not only do they keep their franchise quarterback for another 6 years, which that's crazy, but they actually are probably saving themselves a lot of money because I'm not exactly sure when Allen's previous contract expires, and if they waited, honestly, like Allen is only going to get better, and he's going to be worth a lot more money than $330 million, and plus like the quarterback market in the next 5 years is going to be insane. So this is actually a very smart move by the Bills. They keep their franchise quarterback intact, making $330 million in 6 years. So this is a huge contract, something that Allen definitely deserves. But now here's the thing: if you're Josh Allen, now you got to go beat the Chiefs. Now, if you don't beat the Chiefs, well then, this is kind of a waste of the Bills. I mean, I'm not. This quarterback, Josh Allen, is the Bills' quarterback. I'm not saying that just because you lose to the Chiefs, you got to get rid of him. But in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. I feel like that's what Josh Allen said. The deal does include $250 million guaranteed, which is a crazy amount of money. I mean, he is going to be making a whole lot of money. I mean, his family is going to be rich for a long time. I mean, Allen will play with Buffalo through the 2030 season, and honestly, like I said, he's only going to get better 100%. But like I was talking about, at some point, Josh Allen has to beat the Chiefs, right? Yeah, maybe at some point if Mahomes isn't playing or Mahomes retires, who knows? Who knows? But I guess I'm not talking about the Chiefs, really. I'm more talking about Allen needs to beat Mahomes. I mean, has he beaten Burrow? I don't think he's beaten Burrow either. I can't remember. But he has beaten Mahomes in the regular season, but when it matters most, he cannot get the job done. So like I said, I'm not saying that Josh Allen doesn't deserve this contract, but now that you're making $330 million over the span of 6 years, now you got to go prove it that you're worth that amount of money. I mean, sometimes when players get massive contracts like this, they kind of they don't really they just don't take it seriously anymore. They're just kind of getting hurt all the time, and they're still making money either way. I'm not calling out Deshaun Watson specifically, even though he's banged up. He's making millions of dollars just to be on the bench. I'm not saying Josh Allen's gonna be doing this, but I mean, he led the team to a 13-4 record and led the team to an AFC title game in which he lost to the Chiefs, obviously, and he also won the league's most valuable player. So I mean, anytime you can get that award as well. I mean, you're worth a large amount of money, and Yeah, Josh Allen is locked up in Buffalo for years to come, and it's over. I cannot wait to see. I want to see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl. I just don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon with the Chiefs, Bengals, Commanders, Eagles. You got to win now. I mean, the team's only getting better. If you look at your division, the Patriots might be a lot better this year. The Dolphins, they're iffy. The Jets, they might be a lot better with Justin Fields now. But I'll get to that topic in a bit. But yeah, we will see how Josh Allen does, not just this year, but throughout the rest of his career or under this contract. But anyway, we're going to go into the next topic. The Seahawks are trading Geno Smith to the Raiders for a third-round pick. This is one of the biggest headliners of the week. This happened like Sunday night, I believe. That's when I saw it. And the money reportedly played a role in Seattle's decision because I guess the two sides were around $10 million off in discussions. So don't be surprised if the Raiders come out and give Geno Smith an extension, which I assume that's what's going to happen. We shall see how much money he's going to make. I mean, I read something where Geno Smith was like asking like $40 million. Like, Geno Smith is 35 and he's asking for $40 million a year. I mean, he's a solid quarterback, but he's not like age does play a role in a lot of things. I mean, he enters the final year of a 3-year, $75 million contract he signed a few years ago, and he's currently the 19th highest paid quarterback. $75 million is a little bit underpaid, is what the word I'm looking for, especially for a guy like Smith, who I feel like is a lot better than what some people might think. Sure, he's 35, but I feel like he's got a lot of football left in him. I think he'll definitely beat out his $75 million contract that he signed 3 years ago. I think he'll make at least $100 million at the very least. At most, we could see 150, I would say, somewhere around there. I don't think he'll get that high, but I don't. Anything can happen. I mean, the Raiders have like $80 million in cap space. I don't know exactly. I think they have a lot though. But the Seahawks offered Smith and wide receiver DK Metcalf to Las Vegas in exchange for edge rusher Max Crosby. However, the Raiders declined and eventually re-signed Crosby to become the second now highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So yeah, you heard that right. The Seahawks were going to trade Geno Smith and DK Metcalf to the Raiders in exchange for Max Crosby. Honestly, I feel like that was a smart move to decline that trade because Max Crosby is arguably, I think, the best player on the team right now. Brock Bowers, you could make that argument, but I feel like Max Crosby is the best player on the Raiders right now. DK Metcalf would have been a nice addition, but I don't think DK Metcalf is worth Max Crosby. And also, you're getting a 35-year-old quarterback and a crash-out king in DK Metcalf. I mean, sure, you could reunite both of them with Pete Carroll, but obviously I've seen some rumors that Tyler Lockett has a real chance to go to the Raiders now that the Seahawks released him. I would not be surprised at all if that happened. I kind of want to see that and see how that works out over there. But Smith played for new Raiders head coach Pete Carroll in the last 4 years with the team. Smith led Seattle to the playoffs in 2022 and earned Pro Bowl nods in 2022 and 2023. So yeah, he's no joke. Had a down year this year, but I feel like he can still definitely make a case to be a top 10 quarterback. We will see by the end of this season. But yeah, I mean, I would not be shocked if he got an extension sooner rather than later. All right, we might have to go through these next ones quickly because we are past the 8-minute mark. Actually, past the 9-minute mark. We're almost at 10 minutes into the episode. The Ravens left tackle Ronnie Stanley agrees to a 3-year, $60 million extension with the Baltimore Ravens. This is something that needed to be done for the Ravens. He was actually one of the top free agents going into this offseason. I believe he was one of my top 5 in my list that I did on one of these episodes. And there's no joke. I mean, he would have had a crazy amount of value if he tested. I mean, the deal includes $44 million guaranteed at signing. And he was set to become an unrestricted free agent. So, a really good signing. The one question mark that Ronnie Stanley had going into 2024 was his health. Obviously, you guys don't know him. He's really struggled staying healthy. This year, though, he did a lot better. I mean, he had 17 games played all year. He's played for the Ravens his entire career. He allowed 2 sacks in 17 games this year, so there's no joke what he can do when he is healthy. That's the thing, though. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the best left tackles, offensive tackles overall, I should say, in the league, and he deserves this kind of money. I feel like they could have offered him more, but then again, health plays a role in that. But Stanley will earn $20 million per year, which is a crazy amount, even though we just finished talking about the Josh Allen topic. But still, like I said, the number 6 overall pick in 2016 has played for the Ravens his entire career. So he's staying loyal with the Ravens, and I feel like this is an extension that the Ravens needed to get done. We're going to the next one. The Browns and Myles Garrett agreed to a 4-year, $160 million extension. This comes after, 2 weeks ago, I believe? Oh, yeah, it was around 2 weeks ago. And Myles Garrett was not open to returning with the Browns. The Browns owner or GM declined a meeting with Myles Garrett. So I was just like, there's no way they're going to make this work out. Like, how on planet Earth are the Browns going to get this to work out? I didn't really think it was possible, but here we are. 2 weeks later, and he's signing a 4-year, $160 million extension. The deal includes $122.8 million guaranteed and will make $40 million per year. I mean, he deserves this money. I mean, this is a contract that even if he walked away in free agency or through trade, he would have still been making around this kind of money. And he's really set the bar for every other non-quarterback in the league to make more than this or even around this. Myles Garrett becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, passing Max Crosby, who signed an extension last week. So we go from last week talking about how Max Crosby became the highest paid non-quarterback in league history to here we are a week later talking about Myles Garrett to be the highest paid non-quarterback in league history, which is it's crazy. I mean, a lot can change in 2 weeks. Apparently, if you're in Cleveland right now, I mean, you go from there's just no way this is going to happen to, oh, well, he's here for another 4 years now. But yeah, I mean, if the Browns traded Myles Garrett, there was a mock draft saying that Abdul Carter would go to the Browns, which I think would be a really solid replacement. But Myles Garrett, one of the best at his position. I mean, the extension comes after Garrett's trade request. And Browns GM canceling a meeting with Garrett, like I've said many times. Yeah, I forgot to mention the trade request part, but it was just a wild scenario. And now here we are. Now they're signing an extension. Garrett finished the 2024 campaign with 47 total tackles, 14 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. I believe he was top 3 in sacks. I know he was behind Trey Hendrickson in sacks. But anyway, like I said, we need to go through these next ones quickly. The Seahawks are trading DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are officially in crash out city now. George Pickens and DK Metcalf are on one team. I never thought I'd see this. I never thought I'd say this. There were some people saying that the two were fighting over who's going to wear number 14, which is absolutely hilarious. We all know who George Pickens is. We all know who DK Metcalf is. The moment I heard that DK Metcalf was going to the Steelers, I was just like, bro, they have George Pickens and DK Metcalf. It's just, that is just wild to me. I mean, Seattle receives a 2025 second-round pick in exchange for Metcalf. That's actually not a bad deal at all for them. They could get, I don't know, Luther Burden if he's there in the second round, Mecca Gvuka if they slide. Obviously, there's a lot has to happen for that to happen. But Metcalf is also reportedly signing a 5-year, $150 million deal with Pittsburgh, making him one of the highest-paid wide receivers in the NFL. I just still cannot get over the fact that this just happened. Not from like a shocking standpoint, but just from saying like that George Pickens and DK Metcalf are legitimately on the exact same team. I just find that really, really funny. But yeah, I mean, they're not fighting over their jersey number. Metcalf's going to wear number 4. Not like that's a big deal or anything. But Metcalf finished the year with 66 catches for 992 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, Really, I feel like overall it's a down year for the Seahawks. I mean, I would not like. I feel like the Seahawks definitely fell off. I mean, obviously, not only did they trade DK Metcalf, but they also released Tyler Lockett. So I mean, it's really not been a good few weeks for the Seattle Seahawks at all. But here's one question mark about the Steelers. I mean, who's their quarterback? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers has. I saw earlier that the best offer that Aaron Rodgers is getting is from the Giants. I mean, are the Steelers actually going to get Aaron Rodgers? I mean, Russell Wilson visited the Browns yesterday or a few days ago, so that's an option. They also just no, we're not talking about the Browns. Who was it? It's not Kenny Pickett. I know he signed with the Browns. I don't know. I might be thinking of something wrong. But yeah, who's their quarterback? I mean, Justin Fields went to the Jets. Russell Wilson is probably going to be gone if he signs with the Browns. Well, he is going to be gone if he signs with the Browns. To me, it doesn't look like Russ is coming back, even though he's still currently hasn't moved yet. And that, yeah, I just don't. I mean, they signed Mason Rudolph again. They brought him back from the Titans. I just don't know if that's like DK going from Geno to Mason Rudolph. Like DK or George Pickens is not going to be happy with that whatsoever. If the Steelers do re-sign Russell Wilson, though, Metcalf will reunite with him when they played in Seattle. I just don't see Russell Wilson coming back, honestly. I mean, visiting the Browns, potentially the Giants might be an option as well. I just don't. Fields didn't come back. I don't see Russell Wilson either. We will see, though. I could be wrong by the time this happens, but we will see. We're going to go on to these next few quickly. The Panthers make J.C. Horn the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. Horn agreed to a 4-year, $100 million deal that can be worth up to $108 million. I feel like the Panthers just need someone to pair up with him now. Like, I've seen some things that if Will Johnson falls, the Panthers could legitimately take Will Johnson. I would not be shocked by that whatsoever in the draft. The deal includes $70 million guaranteed and $25 million per year. This is for a DB. I mean, sure, $100 million doesn't sound like a lot, even though it is. This is a lot for a defensive back. I mean, $25 million per year. That's crazy. I mean, like I said, we just got done talking about Myles, Garrett, and Josh Allen, but anyway, Horn who was the 8th pick in 2021, tallied 68 combined tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 interception in 15 games last season. I feel like that was a question mark going into last season, where like, can J.C. Horn actually stay healthy? I feel like that was a topic last year. I just remember watching the Bengals-Panthers game and like hearing the announcers talk about that. I could be wrong, but I think Horn will be just fine. I mean, I feel like he has a lot of he has a lot of potential to be a top 10 corner, whether he already is or not. I just don't really follow defensive backs that much. But, I mean, Horn is definitely one of the best defensive backs if he can stay healthy. I mean, top 10 arguably. I think you make that argument. But Horn will remain in Carolina through 2029, so the Panthers have one of their cornerstones locked up. We will see. The Panthers, I think they're going to be a lot better this year. I mean, Bryce Young progressed a lot mid-season. I feel like he's their franchise quarterback. Now just get him some weapons. Adam Thielen is coming back. Thought about retirement, and I guess he's going to remain in the NFL for at least another year. So yeah, the Panthers need some weapons, whether that's in free agency or through the draft. They need to get some weapons before anything else at this point. We're going to go on to the next one. Sam Darnold signs with the Seahawks, agreeing to a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. I don't really know what to say about this. We all knew Sam Darnold wasn't going to be with the Vikings. The Raiders were actually a huge favorite, I heard. I mean, the deal includes $55 million guaranteed and will make $35.5 million per year. So, yeah, there's no joke. We'll see if he can actually get back to the Minnesota Vikings for him, because in Seattle, they don't have a Jordan Addison or a Justin Jefferson. I mean, they have Jackson Smith-Njigba, But that's it. They got rid of DK Metcalf. They traded DK Metcalf. They cut Tyler Lockett after a decade. I don't know who else the Seahawks have. So I would not be shocked if Sam Darnold actually struggles in Seattle. I would not be shocked whatsoever. I mean, Seattle found their quarterback after trading Geno Smith to the Raiders. Like we talked about earlier, but I just don't expect Sam Darnold to be as good as he was in Minnesota last year. I really don't. Because who did he have? He had Aaron Jones as his running back. I mean, Kenneth Walker isn't terrible. He had a solid offensive line, I think. He also had two really talented receivers and arguably the best receiving duo in the league. The Seahawks had that. They had that, HAD, but they don't have that anymore. They don't have DK Metcalf. They don't have Tyler Lockett. I mean, they have Jackson Smith at Jigba, not throwing any shade at him. I'm just saying, I just don't expect him to be as good as what he was. I mean, Jackson Smith at Jigba caught 100 passes for 1,130 yards and 6 touchdowns. He is blossoming into a true receiver one, and I feel like Smith at Jigba is gonna get better now that he's going to be carrying most of the load since DK and Tyler Lockett did that when they were in town. But since Smith and Jigba is the only guy there now, he's going to be a really talented receiver. I feel like he's going to unleash his full potential in Seattle now. Darnold threw for 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 14-3 record. I mean, that's, like I said, that's with a whole lot of talent surrounding him. They also had a really solid defense too. We'll see. It's not a 4-year deal for a reason. I feel like you could make the argument where it could have been a 2-year deal, to be honest, or I would say 2 to 3 years is fair. This is kind of a are you legit kind of deal. I feel like we're gonna go on to the next topic. The Jets signed Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract. This really this really came as a surprise to me. I thought the Steelers were surely going to keep Justin Fields and they were going to make him their franchise quarterback. But the deal comes with $30 million guaranteed and $20 million per year. Fields will reunite with his college teammate at Ohio State, Garrett Wilson. That is something I am very intrigued to see this year. I want to see how this thing goes again. As a Buckeyes fan, I watched Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, who's on the Saints now. I cannot wait to see how this gets going. I mean, sure, Justin Fields could have been with DK Metcalf. He could have been with George Pickens, the two menaces of the NFL. But honestly, why would you not want to reunite with your college teammate? Not just because you're best friends or anything, or you're really good friends or any of that, but you have the chemistry. I mean, they were at Ohio State for a couple years. I mean, we'll see how he does. I feel like Justin Fields and the Jets are going to be a lot better now. Obviously not just because Aaron Rodgers left, but because now they have Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson. Throw in Breece Hall in there. No, who's there? They have another solid player in there. I can't remember. But the Steelers ultimately decided to not stick with Russell Wilson for the moment. We'll see. Or potentially Aaron Rodgers instead of Fields. I feel like Fields would have been the right call for the Steelers, but no, they let him walk. Now they might let Russell Wilson walk, so we will see who their quarterback will be. Fields went 4-2 as the team's starter and threw for 1,106 yards, 5 touchdowns, and averaged 20.7 points per game. The one question mark with Fields is, can he limit the turnovers? Not just interceptions. I mean, he only had 1 interception in 6 games, but he has several fumbles. So that's the thing. Can he handle the ball well? Can he limit the turnovers? That's one thing that we're going to be looking at once the season goes underway, for sure. All right, we have 3 more. We're going to get through these quickly. The Rams are signing Devontae Adams to a 2-year, $46 million contract. The deal includes $26 million guaranteed. And yes, that signals that the Rams are moving on from Cooper Kupp. They cut him. They released him. I don't know when it was. It was a few days ago. They released him. They're moving on from him. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Devontae Adams obviously one of the better receivers in the league. Obviously didn't have as good of a year as what some had planned on. But I feel like he still has a lot of football left in him, a lot of juice left in him. I feel like he can be a good receiver. I mean, he really just needs a good quarterback. The Jets or Raiders didn't have a good franchise overall. Raiders are looking a lot better, though. Sure, the Jets. But I feel like the Rams is a really solid fit because now you can, what's the word? Now you can compete for the receiver 1 spot, which in my opinion I think is going to be Puka Nacua. I mean, sure, you could make an argument for Devontae Adams to be receiver 1. I just feel like Puka Nacua, since he's younger, he has a higher ceiling. Now, I mean, sure, Adams is older as well, but I feel like Puka Nacua will get the receiver 1 spot. But Adams caught 85 passes for 1,063 yards and 8 touchdowns in 14 games. Adams also eclipsed 11,000 career receiving yards. That's a really huge milestone for him. But yeah, we'll see where the Rams. What's the word? We'll see what the Rams do this year. I mean, that defense is looking terrifying. That young blood defense, like, I would not be shocked if they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. And that offense is developing too. I mean, if you keep Matthew Stafford in that conversation, I think they're going to go a long way. You could draft a quarterback in this year's draft, but honestly, when they said they'd rather stick with Jimmy Garoppolo instead of Matthew Stafford, that just didn't make any sense to me. Matthew Stafford is a lot better than the Rams think, obviously. Adams has 6 Pro Bowl nods under his belt and will likely become a Hall of Famer. I feel like we could all make an argument for that. I feel like he is going to be a Hall of Famer. We will see how the Puka Nacua Devontae Adams duo goes. We will see. I cannot wait to see how that duo goes. We're going to go on to these next 2, and then we're going to finish NFL news. The Texans are trading Laramie Tunsil to the Washington Commanders for multiple picks. All right, Houston also traded a 2025 4th-rounder in return for a 2025 3rd-rounder and a 7th-rounder in 2025, a 2026 2nd and 4th-rounder. So the Texans traded Laramie Tunsil and a 2025 4th. The Commanders, they traded a 2025 3rd, a 2025 7th, a 2026 2nd, and a 2026 4th. So they got 4 picks in return for Tunsil, which isn't bad. I mean, sure, Tunsil is getting older, but he's a top 10 tackle in my opinion. I mean, the 30-year-old has 2 years remaining on his contract, so we will see if the Commanders, they could honestly sign him to a new deal. Or even wait out this year. He's going to get a new deal at some point with the Commanders. Whether that's sometime this year, next year, or 2 years, we will see. The 5-time Pro Bowler put up 19 penalties this season, which was the most at his position. So that is something he needs to work on, obviously. And the Texans allowed 52 sacks in 2024, which was 4th most. So getting rid of your best offensive lineman isn't exactly the best thing to do. But hey, you're getting three top 5 round picks. They also have 7th round. I don't know if that made sense. They basically have a 3rd, 2nd, and 4th. That's 3 picks inside the top 5 rounds. That makes a lot more sense when I said it. We're going to go on to the last topic. The Falcons plan on keeping Kirk Cousins as the backup behind Michael Penix. Really doesn't shock me whatsoever. Kirk Cousins really struggled. Sure, he came off an Achilles injury. You can make an argument for that. But I feel like Michael Penix is the way to go. Cousins has a desire to start and apparently remains frustrated with the situation. Doesn't come as a surprise. If Atlanta released the veteran, the Cleveland Browns, who have been linked to Cousins, could have picked him up even after they signed Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett did also say that he sees himself as a starter. We will see. I think the Browns could definitely sign another veteran quarterback, and draft one potentially. If the Browns ended up with Kirk Cousins, I would say the Browns wouldn't draft a quarterback. I mean, either way, adding Pickett, I feel like you could wait to the 2nd, 3rd rounds to actually draft a quarterback because, I mean, this quarterback class sucks this year, but there's a lot of solid depth at that position. I mean, Cam Ward and Shador Sanders headlined the whole thing. Then you have Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, some other guys, Riley Leonard. There's some solid guys in there that are late rounders that you could actually like. It's a terrible year to need a quarterback in the draft and free agency actually. But if you're a team, like you're sitting there like, hey, we can take Travis Hunter and then get a solid quarterback in the next round, which it's not a bad year for that to happen. But anyway, Cousins wants a starting gig, whether that's in Atlanta or elsewhere. And since Kirk, here's where it gets confusing. I'll try and say it as less confusing as possible. But since Kirk signed a 4-year, $180 million extension last offseason, if the Falcons release him before June 1st, they would take on $60 million in dead money. If they released him after June 1st, they take on $40 million in dead money. And if Kirk is traded prior to June 1st, Atlanta would take on $37.5 million in dead money compared to $12.5 million if they traded him after June 1st. I don't know if that made any sense or not. It's kind of confusing when you put in the same words multiple times in a sentence. I try to make it make the most sense for you guys. But we're going to go and do quick hits. Like I said last week, this episode is going to be way over time. I would not be surprised. Last week I said I wouldn't be surprised if it was over an hour. I feel like that 45 minutes at least. But anyway, we're going to pull up the timer, okay? For those of you who don't know, we're actually starting to put a timer in for quick hits. I should have brought a water in here. I always forget. We have 15 topics of quick hits to get to. And so basically this week, some of you guys might be like, what happened to some of the other big topics this week? Well, this week for NFL news, I only did the biggest topics, and for quick hits, I did slightly smaller topics, and for signings, I did a lot smaller signings, and you get the point. Hopefully, at least. But anyway, we're gonna go on to quick hits. I'm gonna pull up the timer here. All right, here we go. Hold on. All right, now we're going to go. Bucks re-signed linebacker Levante David to a 1-year, $10 million deal. The deal includes $9 million guaranteed. David was set to become a free agent, but will play in Tampa another year in his 15th season. Michael Gallup intends to come out of retirement. Gallup retired just last offseason at 28. Gallup started his career in Dallas and retired with the Raiders July 23rd, 2024. Raiders signed defensive end Greg Rousseau to a 4-year, $80 million extension. Rousseau will remain in Buffalo through 2028, and the deal includes $54 million guaranteed. The number 30 pick in 2021 recorded 53 tackles, 8 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles in 2024. Buccaneers re-signed Chris Godwin to a 3-year, $66 million contract. The deal includes $44 million guaranteed, and the deal can be worth up to $72 million. Godwin reportedly took less money to stay with the team. Chiefs receiver Xavier Worthy arrested and won't be charged. Worthy was arrested because he assaulted a family member or a household member. Apparently, a room resident refused to leave the building, destroyed a room, scratched his face, and pulled out some of his hair. That sounds like a great person. Khalil Mack re-signs with the Chargers on a 1-year deal and will make $18 million this season. Patriots adding offensive tackle Morgan Moses. Moses agreed to a 3-year, $24 million deal worth up to $28.5 million. The 12-year veteran has allowed just 2 sacks and 723 snaps. Cardinals signed defensive end Josh Sweat to a 4-year, $76.4 million deal. The deal includes $41 million guaranteed. Sweat tallied 41 tackles and 8 sacks in 2024. Chargers signing Najee Harris to a 1-year deal. LA hasn't finalized the deal yet, but he could make around $10 million. Pittsburgh did not offer Harris a contract before free agency. Harris has generated 1,000 rush yards every season of his NFL career. Jonathan Allen signing with the Vikings for a $51 million contract. Allen will play in Minnesota through 2028. The deal has a max value of $60 million. Eagles trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Texans for offensive lineman Kenyon Green. Philadelphia is also sending a 2026 6th-round pick for a 2025 5th-round pick. Ravens signing veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to 1-year, $6 million, and that's time. I don't know how many times I needed to cough on that. I really need to bring water next time. But we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 left. A lot more than last week. Obviously, since we have more overall quick hits than last week. Not bad. Not bad, I'll say that. I'll get to the Xavier Worthy one in a bit. But anyway, Ravens signing veteran wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to a 1-year, $6 million deal. Hopkins was sent over from Tennessee to Kansas City through trade mid-season last year. Hopkins registered for just 41 catches, 437 yards, and 4 touchdowns as a member of the Chiefs. Bills signed defensive end Joey Bosa to 1 year, $12.6 million contract. The contract has a max value of $15.6 million. The 29-year-old recorded just 5 sacks in 14 games in 9 starts and would have cost roughly $26 million to keep the injury-prone defensive end. Patriots steal Milton Williams from the Panthers. Williams signed a 4-year, $104 million contract that includes $51 million guaranteed at signing. Williams becomes the third highest paid interior defensive lineman in the NFL. And news broke that Carolina had originally picked up the young ascending star, only for the Patriots to out of nowhere just pick him up. Chiefs restructure Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones' contract, freeing up roughly $50 million in cap space. Kansas City is creating cap space for other incoming players. Broncos signed tight end Evan Ingram to a 2-year, $23 million deal. The deal includes $16.5 million guaranteed, and he hauled 47 catches for 365 yards and 1 touchdown in just 9 games in 2024. Seahawks signed DeMarcus Lawrence to a 3-year, $42 million deal. The deal includes $18 million guaranteed. Lawrence has spent his entire career in Dallas until now. In just 4 games played, Lawrence recorded 14 tackles, 3 sacks, and 1 forced fumble in 2024. Steelers signed former All-Pro corner Darius Slay. Slay agreed to a 1-year, $10 million deal and will pair up with Joey Porter Jr. That'll be very interesting. Sorry about my coughing, but like I said, I really need to bring water next time. Cam Jordan returning for his 15th season on a reworked contract. Jordan has played in 226 games for his whole career in New Orleans and missed just 2 out of 226 games. Last one, Mason Rudolph returns to the Steelers on a 2-year, $8 million deal, which includes $4.5 million guaranteed. Before we go, I'm going to look up and see if we have any more NFL news. The Chiefs are set to add Jerry Tillery. Apparently, the Vikings might be causing the delay of Aaron Rodgers' decision. So, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I read. See if there's any more. I don't think there. I don't see anything else. Yeah, I'm currently running a live tracker of free agency signings, so I'll let you know if I see one instantly. But we're gonna go to signings. The Chiefs re-signed Marquise Goodwin, Nick Bolton, Gardner Minshew, and re-signed Kareem Hunt. Bengals re-signed Mike Gesicki and B.J. Hill. Falcons re-signed Jake Matthew. Buccaneers signed Hassan Reddick. Bears signed Drew Dalman and Grady Jarrett. Titans signed Dan Moore Jr. Jaguars signed Jordan Lewis. Panthers signed Trayvon Moehrig and Rico Dowdle. Patriots signed Josh Dobbs, Carlton Davis, and Harold Landry. The Patriots had a really good offseason so far. Bills signed Josh Palmer and re-signed DeMar Hamlin. Packers signed Aaron Banks, Nate Hobbs. Browns get Kenny Pickett. When I say get, that means trade. So the Browns got Kenny Pickett in a trade. Colts signed Charvarius Ward, Cameron Bynum, and Daniel Jones. By the way, back to the Packers. I believe the Packers are signing Nate Hobbs to potentially replace Jair Alexander if they can't come to terms on a deal. Dolphins signed Zach Wilson. Giants re-signed Darius Slayton and safety Javon Holland. Cowboys signed Javonte Williams, Kaiir Elam, and Myles Sanders. The Seahawks signed Ernest Jones and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Lions signed DJ Reed. Vikings re-signed Byron Murphy, Aaron Jones, Will Fries, Javon Hargrave, and re-signed Harrison Smith. Really good offseason so far by the Vikings as well. Saints land Devon Gottschalk and signed Justin Reed. Also, when I say land, that means a trade as well. Steelers signed Kenneth Gainwell. Commanders re-signed Marcus Mariota. Raiders signed Raheem Mostert. And Texans get Ed Ingram. And the Eagles signed Adoree Jackson. That's all for signings. Got 2 main cuts this week, and that is the 49ers cutting Kyle Juszczyk and the Patriots cutting David Andrews. The 49ers are absolutely blowing up their roster for absolutely no reason. Probably just to save up money to pay Purdy. But obviously, I don't think the 49ers are going to be contending anymore for any time soon, to be honest. I don't think they're going to be contending for a few years. I can't talk either. Anyway, we're going to go to a new segment called Retirement Reaction. This is a segment where I'm reacting to a retirement, not just the retirement decision, but I'm also going to be reacting to the player's best play of their career that I can remember that I've experienced as well. So, for those of you who didn't know, Ravens veteran defensive tackle Michael Pierce retired early this week. And for those of you who might be like, who on earth is Michael Pierce? I didn't know him at first because I couldn't remember the name. But then I was like, I watched the video and I read what the title was, and I was like, oh, I know who he is. I'm going to play this here. This is probably one of the Ravens' best plays all year. I'm going to play it right here.
90th of the season.
Fourth quarter, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Ravens are smoking the Browns. Zappy throws, and it's picked off by the big man, Michael Pierce. One of the best plays, not only of the Ravens season, but just of all year. That play was awesome. I mean, you can see like the Ravens players just like loving it. I mean, that was one of the greatest plays of the year, and it is sad to see him go. I honestly, my take on that play, I think he should have taken that to the house. He should have definitely taken that to the house. Unfortunately, he did not. He actually said the bus was out of gas, so makes sense. But I would have loved to see him go all the way. I would have loved it. But, you know, it is what it is. Happy retirement to Michael Pierce. A legend for the Ravens now, obviously, after that play. Not just after that play, but overall as a player, I'm sure. But, yeah, I still laugh at that play. But it's fun. But, anyway, is that it for the episode? Are we actually done? There's no way we're done. All the prep for this episode, and it's all over. Wow. Well, we're going to get to quiz and question of the week. Don't you worry about that. But, yeah, before we go, I'm going to make sure we didn't miss out on any more NFL news, because I want to get as much out this week so I don't have to get to as much next week. I'm not seeing much. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much NFL news. I mean, Monday was the start of free agency. Monday, I would say Sunday through Tuesday were the best days to see all the signings and everything. Since then, there really hasn't been much. It's been really quiet since then. But anyway, the quiz was who has the most career receptions in the NFL? Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, or Chris Carter. Unfortunately for me, second week in a row where I've lost the quiz. This one was a lot closer. But, yeah, Chris Carter, 7%, Terrell Owens, 13%, Randy Moss, 31%, and Jerry Rice, 49%. I got 31% of you for the wrong answer, but I'll get you guys next week. Trust me. All right, question of the week. Where will Aaron Rodgers play in 2025? This is actually a huge question because he's still mulling retirement. There's pictures of him at a beach, really thinking about his retirement, or maybe just walking on the beach. But, yeah, you get the point. But New York Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers was 31%. New York Giants was 69%. Giants make the most sense. I honestly cannot see him in a Steelers uniform at all. But I think the Giants is most likely going to happen, honestly. That's just in my opinion. But for my take on that, yeah, Giants for sure. But anyway, that is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the like, the subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified of every single upload this channel makes. Check out last week's episode. It was also probably the same amount of time as this one was. Don't be concerned because episodes are supposed to be 30 minutes long. But we talked about Max Crosby agreeing to a massive extension, which originally made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, but now it's taken over by Myles Garrett. I hope you guys check that one out. And, yeah, a long episode that wasn't as long as what I thought it was going to be. Last week I said I thought it would have been an hour. But, no, this year free agency wasn't as big as last year's. But, yeah, I'll see you guys next week for episode 50. We're getting into the 50s, halfway to 100. That's actually crazy to think about. But, yeah, I'll see you guys next week for another great episode on Deacon's NFL Talk.